We were praying for peace yesterday, weren't we? Didn't get it.
There was earlier on, though, wasn't it? It just got nasty later. I think with people who just wanted to make trouble.
That's the problem, actually. That is the problem.
I don't think that the scuffles that broke out were anything to do with
the rally.
Exactly. Or anyone's ideology. It wasn't a clash of religions or things like that. It was just people who just wanted to make trouble.
Because it was a lot of these, what we call far-right groups that actually went to the cenotaph quite early on. I mean, what was their argument? That they were protecting it, but throwing stuff at the police. I mean, it's
yes, I know. It was their attitude towards the police was absolutely awful. I mean, some of the footage, you know, actually people taking swipes at the police and throwing fireworks at them in the end. I mean, what the heck was that about?
No. It's not on. Anyway, look, it's thought about 300,000 pro-Palestinian protesters calling for a Gaza ceasefire did march in central London yesterday, the biggest rally since the Israel-Gaza war began.
Now, throughout this week, concerns were raised by politicians about the potential disruption at commemoration events, questioning whether protests should be allowed to go ahead at all.
Well, people attended with children, and that march was largely peaceful, although dozens of counter-protesters were arrested by the Metropolitan Police for a number of offences.
And we also understand the police are attempting to identify people who attended the main protest seen with pro-Hamas slogans. Our national reporter Theo Chikomba has this report.
On the day to commemorate the end of World War I, hundreds of thousands of protesters marched in central London to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Some 2,000 officers were deployed across the capital, with officers drafted in from other forces in England to support the Metropolitan Police. Ahead of Armistice Day, there were concerns about potential disruption taking place at events across the capital. But the Met Police said their job is to police without fear or favour, balancing the rights of all. A 2-minute silence was held at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning across the UK, marking the moment when hostilities ceased in 1918. But as the moment of silence came to an end outside Whitehall in London, protesters chanted as wreaths were laid at the cenotaph. A few hundred yards from there, police clashed with far-right groups who attempted to enter an exclusion zone, and were also met with violence and abuse in the West End, in what was described by the police as unacceptable violence. As the day progressed, the Met confirmed that dozens of counter-protesters were arrested for a number of offences, including possession of offensive weapons, affray, to prevent a breach of peace, and more. Away from the city, it was a day for veterans like John to take a moment to reflect.
I've seen quite a few Armistice days now, and it all depends on how you feel at the time. Different days you're more melancholy than others, and you can easily be upset. But today, I'm quite happy now. I've had my minute's silence, and I'm going to the Garden of Remembrance.
While protests drew hundreds of thousands of people into the capital, it didn't take the focus away from many who took time to remember those who sacrificed for their country. Theo Chikomba, GB News.
What strikes me with that, and look, it's open to opinion, you know, get in touch with your thoughts, but yesterday a lot of our emails that were sent in by you were saying it's about respect. You know, people shouldn't be protesting because of respect, or if they are going to protest, it should be done in a respectful way. Well, that's what hasn't happened with the counter-protest.
Yes.
That's
in fact,
the problem.
It's probably wrong to call them counter-protests. They're just troublemakers, weren't they?